hope that they're satisfied and comfortable using their residence.
If you say something, what happened? Yeah, that's what you stay there.
Adam, you the back boy?
Yeah, man, because they tell me I have deep black in the camera. And then I want to buy pills for this man.
Something happening?
No.
Yeah.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the media. Welcome to the PPP weekly press conference. I hope that our new accommodation make you a bit comfortable. You're better now to do your work, and we'll keep improving all the time. With me this morning is our General Secretary as usual. He'll be reading two statements, after which we'll be fielding questions. Yes?
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. The first statement reads as follows. The People Progressive Party has noted the recent 10-point demand on the President and the government by the Alliance for Change. It appears as if the AFC is developing a penchant for brazen demands on the executive under the guise of having the interests of Guyana and Guyanese at heart. Our party remains cognizant of the terror that was unleashed on innocent Guyanese along parts of the East Bank corridor following a previous demand/ultimatum by the AFC. During that fateful afternoon, many were beaten and robbed and denied their constitutional right to freedom of movement. Law enforcement officers were also subjected to wanton abuse that ensued. Such actions, and those that continue to be taken at the National Assembly level, are demonstrative of the scant regard the AFC has shown for the welfare of Guyanese. Our party must therefore remain concerned over what this new set of demands by the AFC may precipitate. If the AFC's demands or utterances were to be believed of having the interests of Guyanese at heart as it claims, then it must endeavor to unconditionally support government's projects and programs. It is in this context that the PPP demands of the AFC that if it is indeed genuinely concerned about improving the life of Guyanese, then it must forthrightly put national interests above its own partisan self-interest. This self-interest was very evident with regard to the construction of the Marriott Hotel and the Specialty Hospital. It is no secret that the owner of a major hotel in Guyana is a lead financier of the AFC. This was made public by the financier himself. There is therefore no ambiguity in comprehending the resulting natural propensity of the AFC to demonize the Marriott to save the interests of its financier. Their continuous opposition to this project continues to be unsurprising. Ironically, the AFC has been vehement in its support for competition in this sector. But when it comes to this particular hospitality sector, competition is not there for them. This ingrained proclivity of self-interest by the AFC and of its parliamentary position to protect its self-interest was demonstrated with regards to the Specialty Hospital. Again, it is no secret that the lead of the AFC was part of the team of a bidding company which was not awarded this contract. The PPP therefore demands of the AFC that if it wants to remain truthful to the development of Guyana and Guyanese, then it must meaningfully use its parliamentary position to ensure the following are realized. 1. The Specialty Hospital. 2. The Myla Falls Hydro Project. 3. The CGIA Expansion Project. 4. The passage of the Anti-Money Laundering and Countering of Financing of Terrorism Bill. 5. The Customs Amendment Bill. 6. The restoration of the budget cuts. 7. The Amerindian Development Fund. 8. Support for reforms in the security sector. 9. Maintenance of Cabinet's no objection to the Public Procurement Commission. And 10. Support for government's investment policies. Our party calls on the AFC to meet these demands in the interest of our country and its people, since the benefits that would be derived are known to all. The AFC cannot escape being responsible for denying Guyanese such benefits. More so, the PPP demands that the AFC cease playing games with the welfare of our people and that of the nation, and we reiterate our demand that if the AFC has the country and Guyanese at heart, then it must immediately put the nation first over its politics of self-interest. The next statement reads as follows. The People's Progressive Party once again renews its call for GCOM to ensure that proper and adequate mechanisms are in place so that every eligible voter is placed in the respective constituency list. It is our strong belief that thorough groundwork of physically placing voters correctly on their list is badly and urgently needed. The party also urges GCOM to sort out all outstanding issues surrounding the boundaries in preparation for local government elections. This can only be done with the involvement and consultation of the major political stakeholders. The PPP puts GCOM on notice as regards its readiness to be involved in this process. Further, with the claims and objections period set to commence on the 4th of August 2014, our concern, as highlighted in earlier statements, is that the almost 10,000 persons yet to be transferred, especially those in the new housing schemes in regions 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. It is expected that no effort will be spared by GCOM to ensure that this figure is drastically reduced, if not removed, through hard work on the ground. It is our expectation that mobile units will be used in the new schemes on the days and times convenient to residents, as well as those in the hinterland communities. The party has already raised its concerns with GCOM on the meager public relations and notifications to residents of the services it's offering, as well as in respect of its mobile units spending little or no time in certain communities. Our party has noted the proposed 7-year expiration period for the validity of ID cards. We are of the view that more consultations are needed before a final decision is made on this complex matter, since such a proposal will mean that on expiration of one's ID cards, the holder will be automatically deleted from the National Register of Registrants database. This will result in many Guyanese, including those living and studying overseas, being disenfranchised in the eventuality that there is little or no time to re-register in order to receive a new ID card. It is important too to consider the cost of such an exercise and GCOM's ability to process every Guyanese in an efficient and timely manner. The PPP is concerned, too, over the amount of critical vacancies existing at GCOM and calls on the Commission to expedite its efforts on recruiting qualified and experienced persons to fill these vacancies through a transparent and impartial recruitment process. It is our view that the Commission members should be consulted and involved in this process, since we have expressed our dissatisfaction time and again on the recruitment process of GCOM. Finally, we call on GCOM to ensure that its readiness for an election must be based on its ability to fulfill its constitutional mandate without prejudice or disenfranchisement to any Guyanese. Thank you.
Thanks. Cheers. There you have the two statements. Now open the floor for questions. And see Gary right and behind Adam there. Taking over the lead from now, Adam. There is a sign to come. All right, Gary.
Sign of things to go.
Sir, in your first statement, you mentioned, or you called to the EFC to support things such as the budget cuts, the annual development fund. Why are those two listed since government is restoring it anyways? You spoke also of the investment policy, and GTU's investment policy seems to favor foreigners and is more or less on. It is only the PPP that seems concerned about GCOM's readiness or preparedness to hold elections. Everybody else seems to be comfortable, including the GCOM's chairman.
Let's start with the last one first. I can't answer for that question. I think when you meet with Mr. Granger and when you meet Mr. Ramjatan, we should ask precisely that question to them. But I would not wish to hazard any reasons or rationale as to why they don't share the PPPC's concerns. We have our concerns based on our groundwork, our knowledge, and our experience with respect to the holding of elections in this country, and on the basis of consultation with our commissioners. Therein lies the reasons why we are raising our concerns now, because lest it be believed that everything is gung-ho or honky-dory at GCOM in respect to the process, as some tend to believe and are pushing every day on the front page of their newspapers, as well as in some diplomatic circles. We hold a different view. And it is about time. Contrary to what the Starbuck News editorial is saying today, that the PPP is repeating what Mr. Hoy did when he made, quote-unquote, excuses as to why elections could not be held. I hold a different view. So, in all of this that is being said, published, and stated, the PPP is now of the view that we should make our reservations be known publicly, to put the public and to put the electorate on guard in respect to these concerns that we have. Elections always develops concerns. Anyone who's acquainted with elections in this country, whether it be general and regional or local government, would know that as you move slowly but surely into elections mode, these concerns tend to arise. The question you asked about why is it no other political party is raising these issues is an extremely interesting question. It's an extremely interesting question. And I would not wish to venture there. The most that we could do is to state our concerns. Now,
You talk about government restoring.
Yes,
some
I know.
of
I'm commenting the other two
Okay,
others.
thank you.
The AFC, like its cohabitive partner, the APNU, strange bedfellows that they might be, are of the view that the Chief Justice and the High Court was wrong to restore the budget cuts. That's a legal ruling of the courts, and we are proceeding with that ruling. These cohabitive partners are of the view that the courts are wrong, but still they refuse to take their concerns to the court. The ideal situation would be to have the courts and the parliament at one on this matter. And so while we have fought this matter out in the courts and have won, we continue to fight this matter out in the parliament. We are not giving up our fight in the parliament. And this statement is a manifestation of the parliamentary struggle to which we are committed to wage, as well as the extra parliamentary struggle that we're waging as well. So when we're calling on the AFC to restore the budget cuts, it's a legitimate demand consistent with what has to happen on the parliamentary front, as distinct from the judicial. We fight on all fronts: the political, the parliamentary, the judicial, and so forth. And this demand is part and parcel of the struggle on the parliamentary front. So, irrespective of whether the cuts are being restored and the relevant document being laid in the parliament, it is also necessary for us to continue pressing the parliamentary opposition to resile from their positions that they've taken in the parliament. Now, in respect to investments and foreign investments, I think every PPPC administration, from President Jagan right down to President Ramatar, is committed and have so stated publicly that Guyana is open to Guyana is open to public-private investments, foreign direct investments, local investments as well. Whosoever has the resources to invest, even if it is in a sweetie factory, let them so invest, providing that the necessary rules are followed, providing that the due diligence work is done in respect to the foreign investors, and so forth. There's no problem. Guyana is open to investments, and we will not discriminate between foreign direct investments, local investment, public-private sector investment, joint ventures, or whatever the case may be. There are certain rules that have to be followed. There are certain principles, there are certain policies. And discrimination in respect of foreign direct investment versus local investment, I think, is not in our lexicon.
Good, next. Adam.
So you say that the government is gung-ho on places like the Marriott and the specialty hospital. If we look at the Marriott, the government is still to give evidence that it will be able to fully utilize that place, given the state of the hotel industry in Guyana. And that's the problem with the opposition. They say it's money wasted. The same with Skeldon, spend nearly $200 million, and you still need another set of money to make it work 5 years down the road. So why do you insist that the opposition is not supportive of these projects when the opposition feels that it has evidence that these projects aren't beneficial to the people of the country?
My answer to that is straight and simple. Since when does the opposition believe that they're the only brightest ones in Guyana that knows what's best for Guyana? Who has given them this privilege to know what is best for this country? They may have a view, and nothing is wrong with them having a view, but it doesn't mean to say that their view is the only view that is sanctified by the Almighty and therefore must be followed by government. I beg your pardon, I disagree wholly with that position. I'm not saying your position, I'm saying that position. So that every government has the legitimate right to look at all investment portfolios, profiles, offers that are made. For example, I've seen one recently with respect to the wind power generation. I don't see anybody questioning that as yet. Maybe they haven't dug deep enough to find out if there's something there.
Who likes anything?
I don't know whose it is, but I've seen something in the newspapers. So all that I'm saying is this, that no one has a monopoly of the truth on where investment should flow or where it should not flow. Why it is justified for why. And you know, the question always is which comes first, the chicken or the egg? Why not give the investments or the investors, it's their money. Some of it, of course, is the government and states' monies too. So that why not give the investment an opportunity to grow and to develop? And then we move to the next stage, or concurrently or parallelly, while we are pursuing the investment in respect to the hotel, do the PR work in respect to attracting people to come back to Guyana, or visitors. Look at the amount of planes that are now arriving in Guyana. I was made to understand that one day, so many aircraft arrived at Timiri that the line of the passengers waiting to be processed by immigration was way outside. So, you know, it's a question of what we want to throw cold water on, or what we want to rubbish, or what we want to do to make the country look bad. If you look at the opposition strategy, the whole approach is to do the following: make Guyana look unattractive to investors, paint the security situation in the country so bad that nobody wants to come here, whether Guyanese in the diaspora or foreigners, paint the government as corrupt, that before you can get any investment down here, you have to pay this money, you have to bribe this person. So Guyana is not a healthy country to invest in. The infrastructure is so dilapidated that it makes no sense investing here. And I can go on and on. But you know, I have lived and grown in Guyana like you, Adam Harris. And I've seen worse. What we have here compared to what was day before 1992 is like comparing chalk to cheese. So the opposition, I would be one of the many not to take them seriously, because their track record compared to what is here now is very, very poor, or was very, very poor.
Follow up. Minister, you spoke of the opposition views, but on scale, 200 million plus, we still require more. The factory is still to be functioning to its capacity. Isn't there a legitimate concern there? And on Marriott, you're still to say how the, apart from PR, how you intend to fully utilize that facility. And if I may also on Marriott, the PPP heavily supported Mr.'s investment in Marriott, saying that, well, there wasn't enough private capital coming. The private financing just wasn't there, so we needed to put the money there. But now we have Sun and Sands, which is $54 million US, 100% privately financed. I mean, how do you justify it?
Let me tell you something. I think the overwhelming majority of Guyanese are happy to see that these investments are being done. You know why? Because jobs will follow. I've already seen advertisements being laid in the newspaper. why are we, and I'm afraid, I don't want to criticize anybody here, but it seems as though there's a culture to doubt things rather than to support things. Am I to understand from your line of questioning that the Marriott is going to be a white elephant? Is that what you're suggesting?
No, I'm asking you how you intend to fully utilize it.
How I intend to fully utilize it?
How does government intend to fully utilize
I can't speak for the government, I can only speak for the PPP. But as a ruling party, I would want to believe that there's a plan, that the investors have a plan, and that in the same way questions were asked about previous projects, how this is going to happen and how it is not going to happen. I believe that these investments will work. Some questions were asked even before the Princess Hotel was constructed, whether people are going to go there. I haven't heard the Princess Hotel fail. I haven't heard the Princess Hotel fail. It's reinventing itself almost every time. They have a cinema in there, I hear people go in there every weekend. They have many things in the Princess Hotel. Businessmen and investors constantly reinvent themselves in order to make sure that their dollars work. So I don't think that the Marriott Hotel is going to be a white elephant. And I hope and I'm sure I will live to see the day when all the hotels in Guyana will get a bite of the cherry in respect of activities being held. I think we must have a more positive approach to these matters. We must have a positive approach. I am proud as a Guyanese. I am proud as a Guyanese to see my country moving forward. I am proud to see that. Because at one stage, all we had was one hotel called the Pegasus. We're having more now. So what is the problem? I don't see a problem with that. I support it fully. Maybe when your grandchildren grow older, they will have their wedding reception at the Marriott.
Yes.
Still two other outstanding questions.
What are these?
If there aren't legitimate concerns over the Skelton Sugar Factory and the Marriott, the PPP was supportive of missiles investment.
I think the legitimacy of the concerns, let me put it that way. I think the legitimacy of the concerns are highly questionable, especially if they're coming from the opposition. Because they're not to be trusted.
But even though 5 years later we still need 4 million.
No, listen, let me finish what I'm saying. And I believe whatever the legitimate quote-unquote questions are, they were probably answered at the committee which we saw, chaired by Mr. Greenwich, which invited the Gaisuko people to go there to answer questions. I don't know what came out of that question and answer period, but I suppose all those questions and the legitimacy of the questions were answered in the course of that meeting. I don't know, but they had the opportunity to ask them. They had the opportunity to ask them at that meeting. Whether they were asked or whether they were answered, I haven't seen the record of the proceedings of the meeting, but I did see in the press that a meeting was held of a certain subcommittee with Mr. Greenwich chairs, where the Gaisuko hierarchy went before that body to answer a whole host of questions.
Next. Yes.
Statements. Sanya from Conto. I want to ask a question of the two statements concerning the parliamentary oversight.
Concerning the
Parliamentary Oversight Committee into the security. Recently, I think the Speaker, Mr. Trotman, made a commitment that they will have a meeting before Parliament goes into recess. Can I have a comment or the party's view on?
Yes, I did see something in the press this morning to the effect that the Speaker is committed to reconvening a meeting of the Parliamentary Oversight Committee on the Security Sector before Parliament goes into recess. I was pleased to see that the Speaker has heeded the call for another meeting of that body to be convened, because I still hold the view like Copernicus held the view that that body is an extremely important body where all the parliamentary parties can sit and discuss matters of policy in respect to the security sector, make recommendations in respect to the security sector, invite experts for views on various aspects of the security sector, invite also the heads of the joint services to question them and to put recommendations to them. I think our country needs that kind of body. I think the country needs that kind of body. In the same way we saw that body or another body met in respect to Gaisuko, where the question and answer takes place. These are the type of institutional arrangements, or these are the type of institutional arrangement within the context of governance that we need to help give effect to good governance in our country.
Sir, you keep saying that the opposition is not to be trusted, that they don't got nothing right, that they did worse. But the president, what's the name of the bill by the president pension bill?
What's the name of who?
The president's.
No, just you said what's the name?
President's pension bill.
No, I heard you use a term just now that I find a little offensive.
Sorry. What? Let me start over. I said
Did you
that-
say to him what little boy?
No. I was the name of a bill.
Oh, you said the bill boy.
No.
Name of Bill
The
Boy.
name of the president.
Did you use, you call him boy?
Yeah.
Well, you have to forgive me because I heard words like, what's the name of the little boy?
Is that
And
right?
I know whenever you talk about little boy and pension, I see the connection.
I know. Well, that's another story. We can talk
I see
about
the
that.
connection.
We can talk
So
about
that's
that.
why I was drawing your attention to what I thought I heard.
No, I won't call the former president a little boy in a public place.
You just did so again.
No, I said I would not call him a little boy in a public
Don't
place.
repeat it again, Adam.
I would call him to his face. I would tell him, anyhow, sir. At issue is the fact that you say you can't trust the opposition. When that bill was in Parliament, the opposition objected about it being exorbitant, no cap on all of this. With some of the figures being released, would you agree that the opposition's fears are now being justified? You spend an average of $2 million a month on light bill, security, and transportation. Alone, only those are $2 million a month. Is that
Aren't all of
absurd?
those things within what the Parliament provided him with?
We know.
So what is the problem?
The problem
He's
is
not
there
spending.
were
He
objections
is
to
not.
those things.
Yes, there will always be objections, and there will continue to be objections, like we're seeing every day in the headlines of the Kaicho News.
Yeah.
The Kaicho News has never given up on Jack View.
No, you can't give up.
No, well, whatever. All that I'm saying is that whatever spending was done is not illegal, it was authorized by the Parliament. You are free, like the Kaicho News is free, and any citizen of Guyana is free to express a view
True.
on this money.
Right.
But one has to be certain and take clearly into account that the money was not illegitimately spent, not illegally spent,
Right.
and not spent outside of what was provided by the Parliament.
Agreed. And then,
Incidentally, at Mr. Granger's next press conference, I would suggest to those journalists who are brave enough to ask him how much money he asked the government to provide to him to run his office.
all right. But the point I'm making, sir, is that the opposition says that the monies paid was exorbitant. Do you agree?
I disagree. I disagree with anything the opposition says with respect to Jagdeo. I disagree, because I believe they're being personally vindictive towards the ex-president. That's my position as the General Secretary of the PPP.
Given the frugal policy of the Jagan administration and the foundation of the party, though, don't you
What
think
is that? You're going a little too fast, like an AK.
Given the frugal policy and the foundation of the party, and Mr. Chetty Jagan, given his ideals on how the party should be managed, don't you think that the former president's benefits are in excess, and what do you think that would go against how the party was actually founded and the frugal basis of founded based in socialism.
That is a matter for this party to decide and to internalize on.
But
Yeah.
that's
We know, we in the PPP, the current leaders of the PPP, supported the bill in the parliament in respect to the president's pensions and benefits. We did that, and we consciously did that in the parliament. Every single MP supported that, including Mr. Nagamoto, who at the time was sitting on the government benches. So if we did that at that time, that is a manifestation of where the PPP stood. Clear and simple.
But doesn't that go against?
But isn't it against?
I would leave that to the so-called political pundits to speculate on that. I'm not getting into that.
Yeah.
If I could, a quick follow-up on the same question. Sir, you spoke about Parliament approving this expenditure from President, but Parliament also sought to cap it recently, and the President is still to assent to that bill.
And the president what?
Is still to assent to the bill.
The capping, the motion to cap it.
And secondly, you're still to answer the question on Marriott. PPP supported missiles investment in Marriott, saying that private financing wasn't there. But Sun and Sand is investing $54 million US, which is wholly private. How do you justify the PPP stance now?
I don't have to justify that. We have something in
No,
this
but clearly
country.
there's private
No.
capital.
We have a policy, an investment policy in this country which calls itself public-private partnership investments. We've seen it with the Borbage Bridge. We've seen it with many other investments in this country. That's one of the investments. It's not peculiar or unique in the sense. So, the other question was what?
The bill to cap the
Oh. Any cap that's coming from the opposition, I would bargain.
Sir, in any democracy, the government and the opposition are generally the people who negotiate, who discuss, and what have you. But from your position, the opposition passed for grass. You ain't taking them on. Would you still
No,
say that?
I didn't hear you from the beginning.
I said, any democracy, government and opposition work together, they bargain, they negotiate, and what have you. But from your statements here today, the opposition passed for grass. You ain't taking them on for nothing.
As far as I personally am concerned, well, you know, the opposition has said they don't want nothing to do with me. So why should I have anything to do with them?
As General Secretary.
Well, when it comes to the party's interest, however, that's a different question. That's a different kettle of fish. Because the party's position rests with the Central Committee, rests with the Congress, and rests with the Executive Committee, which are collective bodies where all the leaders sit. And when they make decisions, which I am part thereof too, well then, those decisions will be faithfully followed and implemented.
So when you say you don't want nothing to do with them, it is G.S. Clement Rui speaking at a personal level.
Yes,
rather
yes,
than the party
yes,
level.
right.
All right.
I just have one more question. In relation to the Region 6, the population drop, and it's generally considered a PPP stronghold, what's your take on that, and is that a serious concern for
I've read a lot of statements being made to that effect, but you know, everything that is said is biased against the PPP to make the PPP look bad, to make people believe that the PPP is losing support, to make the PPP believe that the PPP is done with, is finished, you know. We will hear more about that. The PPP is yet to pronounce on that. We will take our time, do the analysis, and make the pronouncement if it is so necessary. Here is exactly where Mr. Harris's question comes in, as distinct from my personal position, which is that the party will study these matters carefully, this particular matter carefully, the results of the preliminary survey, and when the party makes a decision on it, well then the party will pronounce through its spokesperson on the matter.
You had mentioned with the new housing schemes, you had mentioned the Region 6 was one of the areas that you
That
would
what?
want to look at. You had mentioned for the new housing schemes in the second statement when you're talking about GCOM, mentioned that Region 6 is one of the locations, one of the areas, sorry, that new housing schemes are and people aren't necessarily registered where they should be registered. Is this moving towards addressing the problem, or is this
Correcting what problem?
population drop for a PPP stronghold?
If what is moving towards correction of problem?
I'm going to assume that you would like voters. So if you'd like voters, you have to address if your voting pool is becoming limited and one of your strongholds, people are migrating or moving to new housing schemes and they're not being registered, which is the sense that I get when I come to these press briefings on Monday, that people are just moving from place to place within Guyana and they're just not being registered.
Yeah, well, people, are always looking for improvement in their well-being. And if someone in Berbice, for example, owing to the children growing up and working in Georgetown or marrying and moving on to the city or whatever the case might be, wishes to have a house lot, applies for a house lot, and successfully obtains a house lot through the established procedures, pays for it, etc. And they decided they're no longer living with their parents, but they're living now by themselves. And they were registered there, okay, but then they've moved to one of the housing schemes. Then this is a natural process of, internal migration, the dynamics of internal migration. And we have to study those things very carefully. We are doing it because we're working on the ground, we're collecting the data, and we will obviously, in analyzing the results that have been put out so far, in respect of the census report, all those factors will be taken into consideration. But at this point in time, we wouldn't wish to speculate or to, pick out pieces of spaghetti from the bowl in order to determine one question in isolation from the other.
But according to your preliminary results, would you say that it's more internal
Our preliminary results?
Yes.
On what?
You-
On the transfers?
Yeah, you just talked
Oh, well,
about-
that's what I'm saying. But now that we have certain types of data in respect to the transfer and the movement of people, that has to be looked at in the context of the report that we've just heard about. And we have to analyze everything in a comparative way.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all very much.
Thank you.
You continue, right?
Ready?